Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Give people a couple seconds. Hop on. Daily live. Ha ha ha. Right. If we're going to do it, it's Friday. Let's have some fun with it. Right. All right. 15, 10 seconds in, 15, 20, 25. All right. So, uh, the whole purpose of this live today is called How to Save Yourself Time as an Investor. And so, what actually, I think I'm going to take my glasses off. We're going to get rolling into it. Real enthusiastic. I feel like I'm going to be real animated with my hands today. It's Friday, right? So, how to save yourself time as an investor. One of the things that I found over the past couple of weeks as I'm building this business and consulting with investors and really helping them move forward in their business and move forward powerfully, what I'm seeing and what I'm actually realizing, the biggest impact I'm having on people in their business is helping them save time. And what I mean by that is in our business as an entrepreneur, on this path, on this journey, we'll come into decisions that sometimes are yes or no. Sometimes it's, do I head left? Do I head right? Which way do I market? Who do I bring on board? Like how should I approach the seller? All this stuff, right? And so where I'm finding my biggest impact with investors is when they have those decisions. A perfect example is today, there's a yes or no decision that needs to happen, right? And so a lot of times, new investors especially, but the ones that are established, the ones that are kind of making these decisions on which direction do I head with my business? How do I refine it? How do I make bigger impact? How do I grow my revenue? How do I do all these things? It becomes what is the right way to do it? And that question normally comes into, today it was a yes or no, right? And so how I help people move forward powerfully is I get them in touch with their own guidance system. And this ends up being kind of a personalized matter of, at the end of the day, what is the way that you know you're making a right decision, or you're making a decision powerfully in the moment, being present with yourself, not necessarily based on the story of, I have to make this the right decision, or I don't know what the right decision is. Because normally what we do as humans is, when we start, and I made a post about it, about doubting ourselves, when we start doubting ourselves, when we start putting all that stress and that expectation on, this has to be the right decision, it needs to be, I can't do anything, I can't move forward, I can't make this decision unless it's the right one. How heavy and draining does that feel? Like, just explaining it, I don't know if you guys have ever felt it, but how draining and how resistant do you feel when you approach a yes or no decision that way? Or like, where do I spend my marketing money? If it becomes so heavy and so life or death, like, why would we move forward making a decision if we put that much strain and that much effort and that much like stress on that decision? We're almost never going to make that decision from a place of power. We're going to make that decision based on trying to play prevent defense, which, if you know as well as I do from, being a football player and watching football and doing that, the team that plays prevent defense never wins, right? So we have to come from a place of power. And if I can help somebody save time by approaching a decision from power and realizing the biggest impact I have with people, and it's really, 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 really simple. Regardless of what decision you make, you're never going to know if that other decision was a better decision. Flat out. Never. Without a doubt, 100 ways. Like, I could explain it a bunch of different ways, but just to give you an example, let's say you've got A and B. A is, I'm going to move forward with, marketing via text message, right? B is, I'm going to market via direct mail, just to take marketing as an example. What we run into is, well, if I do text messaging and I have it be X, Y, and Z or blah, 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 we can plan out what that looks like. And we can plan out what doing it via direct marketing looks like, mailing, right? We can plan it out. But we're trying to game and mentally plan out and game the future. And you can't do that in the moment. You're never going to be able. You can measure what you'll lose and you can measure how it might look to you, but you're never going to know 100% of the time all of the variables that happen outside of your realm of your like five senses on what is actually going to happen. So we're actually taking an exercise in futility by trying to play out all the variables. We can do that for the rest of our lives on one simple decision. And so we end up going down that rabbit hole. And what really, really starts exponentially increasing that analysis paralysis is when we start bringing more information and more opinions and more, because one person will say one thing, one person had success this way, and then we start going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then at the end of the day, we feel so split on which one is right, we never ultimately make the decision, right? And so for me, how I help investors and how I get them to be in their power as much as possible, I find the one emotion and the one thing that they gauge and what money, what success, what all this means for them, right? And so you're always going to have fear in a decision. You're always going to have doubt in a decision, especially when it's two things that you've never really experienced before. So those emotions are constant. You're going to need to know what fear feels like for you. You're going to need to know what doubt feels like for you, because they will cloud the judgment, right? And so when you know what those two feel like, which you can put yourself into things where you doubt, that decision itself probably has some fear, has some doubt. For me, fear and doubt cause me to clench up. They cause me to be tight, pressure in my head, things like that, right? Now, if I know that those are how I feel, then for me, one of the emotions I operate out of and the body feelings, and if I'm operating from a belief of regardless of the decision I make, it's either going to work out so much better than I had ever anticipated, or it's going to work out and I'm going to learn a big lesson, because it may be the incorrect thing in the moment that I gauge, but it's going to help me in the long run because I'm going to learn a lesson and I'm going to take power from it and I'm going to adjust, right? So regardless of the outcome, I know it's going to work. At that point, you can go into that decision and say, hey, I recognize the fear, I recognize the doubt, but which one feels more aligned with my end goal and that feeling that I have based on that goal, right? Does this decision, is this going text messaging? Does it feel more aligned? Does it feel more expansive? Does it feel like I'm actually empowered? Does it feel authentic? Whatever your gauge is that you want success to be mean for you, or it actually means for you, make it from that decision. And that's what I help investors in. I help them get through all the head trash and get to where they actually operate in their power best. Some people, it's feeling authentic. Some people, it's feeling secure. Some people, it's having freedom of choice. Some people, it's feeling empowered. Every person's individual, right? And so if we can get you to acknowledge the fear and the doubt, and then get you to whichever decision feels the most aligned with that end result and how you feel internally about it, it's going to come real easy, right? And so the conversation today was, you've got yes and no. Now, taking fear, taking doubt, you're aware of that. Those are always going to be constant, right? And so that's the conversation I had today. And I said, which one's going to help you feel more empowered? Is it yes or no? Which one's going to help you feel like it's expansive and you're actually going to get to your goal and feel more aligned with that goal? Does taking this on, does it feel, saying yes to this, does it feel like it's going to be draining, like it's going to be resistant, that it's going to not that you're afraid it's not going to work out, or that you have doubt that you're going to be able to execute it, but does it feel draining? Does it feel heavier? Does it feel like it's actually going to constrict you? If it's going to feel heavier with a yes, then it's going to be no, because it needs to be a hell yes, or it's always going to be a no, right? And so that was the conversation. And immediately, like, they were going through all these, getting opinion. It was getting opinion, doing this. And ultimately, when we phrased it that way, it was an immediate, confident, yes, this is the right decision. Yes. Well, how much time do we just save from having to do research, from having to get opinions, from having to do that? When we step into our power and our abundance and our just presence, and we operate from that feeling and that presence and that state of being, then it doesn't matter what the end result is. And that's what I help investors understand. And that's what I help them feel into. And that's what I really help them with their business is, look, we can try to game the system to do the perfect thing and do it right every time, but we won't take any action. It's going to be imperfect regardless, because we can't measure how it's going to work after this first decision. We have to experience it, and then we have to adjust, right? So that's where I save investors the most amount of time, is helping them get the wheels moving on whatever it needs to look like, right? And I think my cat's stuck in our storage room, so I'm going to cut this short real quick. But that's it. How do you save yourself? Acknowledge the fear and doubt. And then what on that decision feels the most empowering and aligned with how you want to operate your business, and make that decision and know that you're never going to know how the other one feels, and it's always going to work out. So that's my piece. I love you guys. Like, comment, share, all of that jazz. I love you all. Have a good rest of your Friday. I'll talk to you soon.